Welcome to another episode of Mental Wellness Insights. Today we are speaking about men's mental health. We are aware that this month is men's mental health awareness month, and so we are having with us Pastor Antoinette to take us through this very important topic. Thank you for joining us today, Pastor. And for the sake of those people who are new in this channel, maybe you will introduce yourself before we begin.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Patricia, for having us on your platform. My name is Antoinette Roberts, Pastor Antoinette Roberts. I am from Georgia in the United States, and I'm here today to talk about men's mental health. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and to start us off, why is men's mental health receiving a lot of interest lately? Why men's mental health?
Well, I believe that men's mental health is receiving a lot of interest today because it's kind of been like the elephant in the room for a long time, right? It's something that should have been spoken about. Maybe it was spoken of, but not really pushed to the forefront. But now we're seeing that when it comes time to the rate of suicide, men's rate of suicide is also it increasing, and also not just suicide, but diagnosis for mental health. Conditions and disorders and things like that. So we really need to talk about this because guess what? The men are expected to be good husbands. They're expected to be good leaders, things, and just good fathers. And if their mental health is not correct, what kind of society are we going to have, right? So now we need to really be conscious about men's mental health and push it to the forefront and really start having those conversations.
Sure. According to research, 1 out of 10 men struggle with depression and anxiety, and less than half of them seek treatment. Why is it that men are hesitant in seeking treatment for mental health issues?
Well, maybe because of pride, ego, shame, guilt, not even thinking that that's something that they should be doing, or even availability. Sometimes, men would probably think that a lot of things are for women, or that women are more prone to go to see a therapist or a counselor and not even realize that it's a space for them as well, a safe space that has been created for them as well. So there's a lot of variations as to why they won't seek help, you know.
Yeah, and is this situation emanating from childhood, from the way we treat our boy child?
Absolutely. Before he was a man, he was a boy, right? And so,
Yeah.
we talk a lot about broken men and men who are unavailable. But what about that broken boy? That broken man didn't just become a broken man. Could he have been a broken boy? And we have to realize that, there are times when somebody might have told him, man up, right? Stop crying before I give you something to cry for, or act like a man. But you're speaking to a child that is 6 years old. You're speaking to a child that's 3 years old. You're speaking to a child that's 12 years old. They're not a man, they're a child. And so a lot of times we don't allow um, male children to be male children, to be exactly that, children. We expect them to have masculine, very valor behavior that men are supposed to have. But in order to have those things, you have to go through rites of passages and experiences and things like that. But we expect them to come out the womb roaring like a man, roaring like a king, right? So that is one of the issues right there. Some of the things that we say and our cultural differences as well, that, and in the way that we have brought up our traditions and our, the things that we have been taught how to even handle our male children, that can be, that is one of the reasons why men are the way they are. You know, he was a boy before he was a man.
Yeah. Where did this issue of man up emanate from? Why man up? Why not woman up?
Why not women? Well, I don't know any man who wants his male child to act like a girl, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
again,
but why not? Why also not tell the girl child to woman up?
to
And
women,
yeah,
well, yeah, I just think because society and our teachings think that little girls are supposed to be soft, and you know we can cry, and we are more tender, things like that. You know, that's what's been taught, right, for generations and generations and generations before you and I, generations down. Boy children are not taught that way. It's just not a part of what society deems normal. So
mm,
even if you look around, some of us today might have a male child right in our vicinity who may be distributing or showing what we call feminine traits, and we're looking at him side eye, right? Like, what's going on with that over there? You're not doing the things that the other boys are doing. You're not playing basketball. You're holding a doll. You're jumping rope instead of climbing a tree. You know, different things like that. Or you just walk a little bit funny with too much, sass, and just the things that we see little boys doing. Um, we look at them like, what's wrong, what's going on, and the truth is, a lot of us, we say that we accept it and we have learned to accept it, but there were some times when that was truly not acceptable.
yeah. And so, from the beginning, what is your advice to the young parent parenting a boy child?
I
How should they treat them?
I think that first of all, we need to see our boy children. We need to really see them. You know, that 12-year-old that's sitting on the bed trying to figure out why his chest is hurting, when nobody hit him in his chest, and why his eyes are watering even though, he's not allowed to cry, and why his voice is shaking, when he tried to say that I'm not okay, but no one really wants to hear him. We need to really start to see our children because our young boys are experiencing some things. So as a young parent, I think we really need to understand and really to start looking at what we are seeing, what's happening, and see our children as a person, not as a tradition, not as a stigma, not as what society has set up, but as a person that is experiencing some things we might not understand, some things we might not know, it might require you to get someone to help you understand, but to really see, because I think a lot of times, one of the main issues is that our young boys are invisible. They're invisible in plain sight. We don't really see them unless they're doing something extraordinary or something crazy. So we need to really start seeing our children. So as a young parent, I think that I would tell young parents, start really making it your intention to really see who your child is and really see your child.
Yeah. Could we also, is it right to say that a lot of boys lack mentorship? Or, in other
Yes,
words, a lot of fathers are absent fathers?
absolutely, absolutely. So we have a really strong um absentee father thing when it comes time to young men that are experiencing mental health breakdowns and things like that as well. A father in the house is very important, but if a father is not in the house, a strong male that can mentor a male child is very important. Why? Because there are things that a man can teach a male child that women, I don't want to say can't, because I don't want your YouTube to blow up. What she mean by can't, you know? But um, women that, where did I go? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, so that women might not be able to teach their male child. There are some things that a man needs to teach a male child. Mentorship is important. Fatherhood is important. And even though you may have fathers in the house, there are some fathers that are in the home, but they're still not there. They're there physically, but they're not there emotionally. They're not there spiritually. They're not there, to help rear and guide that child. So mentorship is very important. We need to realize that there has to be a strong man, a safe, strong man in a young child's life. So that, and a older child as well that's growing up, because how are they going to know? I think the problem is too, a lot of times we expect men to know how to do certain things. Well, how would they know how to do those things if no one taught them?
True. So are we pushing our boys to the wall without knowing?
Absolutely. Because guess what? If I don't know how to be a good father, where am I going to learn it from? I might learn it from trial and error because I didn't have a good father. So I say I'm not going to do what my father did to me, right? I might learn it from there. But then that can cause a whole lot of other issues as well. Like, how do you know? What do you measure if when you're doing things right? What do you measure it against? If I don't know certain things, I just don't know. And sometimes you don't know that you don't know until you find out you don't know it, if that makes sense. Right? So I just think that we are pushing our young boys to the wall because we just expect them to have this innate ability to just show up and be a man. But we
Mm,
see that it's not working because a lot of them are showing up to be a man, but what kind of man? They're
exactly.
doing stuff, but they're mentally not safe. They're mentally not whole. They're showing up and they're taking care of their families, and they're protecting, and they're doing all the things that we expect them to do, but they're crying themselves to sleep at night. They're in the shower crying. They're drinking too much. They're reckless driving. They're doing all kind of things that we might think, okay, that that's just part of a manhood, but it could be a cry to say that I'm not okay. I'm just not okay.
Yeah, and why is it that when they are not okay, they are not able to express themselves? They're not as open as the female.
I think because a lot of times we interrupt their softness,
Yeah.
meaning that when a man is open and he's becoming vulnerable, we interrupt it by not allowing him to be soft and vulnerable. We
Mm,
interrupt it, right? A lot of times too, we we have to affirm his humanity and not his hustle, which means that he's more than a paycheck. He's
mm,
more than a protector. He's a person. Can we see him as a person?
mm.
So yeah, I just believe that we just really need to be able to create a space where they can be vulnerable, where they can be a little bit softer. We have to ask them, how are you? And ask again, how are you? And really wait to hear, how are they? Sometimes we ask people, how are you? We don't care. We just do it out of formality. How are you? Well, I'm so and so, so and so, so. Before they can even answer, we gone. We don't even care. How are they? But sometimes we have to really sit down and really ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Can and really care about how they feel and be a solution if you can be.
I think also the vice versa should. Many times, if you ask them how are you, or you insist on them talking about their feelings, they feel that we are nagging.
Yeah, but that's also because we need to create a space without judgment.
And so, who is supposed to create this space?
Whoever they're speaking to. Because you know what? I'm just thinking about my husband and my children.
Yeah.
Creating a space where my husband can be vulnerable, where my sons can be vulnerable, was something that I had to learn. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that I automatically knew because no, I grew up with that. You know, you a man, do man things, get out my face. Don't come with me with that. Figure it out, right? But there was a space that I had to learn how to create it. I had to be intentional about learning how to create this space, and it came through so many ways. One way it came through is prayer, right? I had to really sit down and begin to pray. God, help me with my heart. Help me how I see the men in my family. Help me be a good wife. Help me, with my husband. And prayer help me to be able to create a safe space. I had to seek counseling, which means that I had to be healed from some stuff so that when they came to me, I wouldn't be putting myself in that situation. I would be able to hear them. So I think creating safe spaces are intentional. You have to be intentional on creating a space for a man or a boy. You have to be intentional on that. It just doesn't happen automatically.
Mm-hmm. And how then, as the man grows up and in the growth process, what are issues that we should be looking into so that our boy child grows a balanced human being?
We can I think that what we need to teach is that, from boyhood, teach boys what safe looks like. That's one of the first things, so that they don't grow into men who confuse love with survival. There's a lot of men out there who think that, um that because I love you, we're just surviving, we're just making it. That's not really what they need. They need a space where they can really, really feel safe to explain that they're not okay. There's another thing I think we need to do is offer help without making him feel like he's broken. Starting from a boy all the way to a man. Just because you need help and you need support, it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're not worth it. It doesn't mean that you're not a man. It means that you're having a condition, you're having an issue, you're having a situation and you need some help. Everyone needs some type of help.
Mm. And the society expects the man to be the provider.
Yes.
What do you say about this, especially in the present day and age?
I well, for me, I really feel like a man is a provider. He is. But provision doesn't just mean money. It means
Mm.
providing love. It means providing safety. It means providing care. It means providing correction. It means providing a lot of different things. It just doesn't mean paycheck money. Like I said, he's a human being. So to be a provider, you have to be whole. Because there's a lot of children out there who would say that their parents had a lot of money and they lived a good life, but they don't even know who their parents are. The love wasn't in their home. Because money can't buy love. There's a lot of children out there who might say that their parents didn't have any money at all, but their house was full of love, and their fathers were there, and they didn't realize that they were broke and were living in poverty because their fathers gave them all the things that they needed to provide. So we have to realize that providing doesn't just mean financial. Providing means all across the board. And in order for a man to do that, he has to know that first of all, his provisions that he is given is appreciated, because there's so many men out there who provide each and every day and are not appreciated for the things that they do. Right? Because
Yeah.
it's expected. You a man, do it. You supposed to do it. But how about thank you for just showing up for me, honey? Thank you for paying these bills. Thank you, babe, for getting up in the morning and going to work. Thank you for making sure that the children are okay. Thank you for whatever. Sometimes we just need to just acknowledge that they are doing a great job. Thank you. A thank you can go a long way.
Mm. What do you think is driving men? Because a big percentage of suicide occurs in men and not as opposed to women. What do you think is driving men to suicide, to alcohol abuse? and such vices.
Well, I read something just recently that kind of shocked me, and it said that women think about suicide, but we don't complete it because we're worried about we would look, how it looks like a vanity when someone finds us. So,
Mhm.
that really was like, okay, okay, and so I think that a lot of men are I don't want to say completing a suicide, but they're have died by suicide because they don't really care about that whole vanity thing, right? And then a lot of times the shame and the guilt. You are expected to be a certain person. You have expectations in your society, your expectations in your home. Even himself, he may give himself expectations that he cannot reach for whatever reason or has not reached. And now the shame comes in, the guilt comes in. Something that we really, really need to look at is that shame and guilt, they're cousins. They ride together, they hang out together. And so, if we can just get rid of shame and guilt in a society, we will make a great impact. Shame and guilt is a lot of reasons why people are where they are. They're shameful for whatever reason, or they feel guilty for whatever reason. So I think that a lot of men are experiencing these things because it's not um cool to show up and say, listen, I can't figure this thing out. And because they have responsibilities and expectations, it's breaking them when they don't meet them.
Mhm. And so, what can you advise the society regarding man's mental health?
Start the conversation. What we're doing right now, and what many people are doing right now, and how we hearing trend the buzzword men's mental health. Don't just make it about a month. Make it about a lifestyle, right? This conversation should be going on forever. We need to check on the people that we say we love. Men are a part of our community. Women are a part of our community. Children are a part of our community. We need to make sure that everybody in our community is whole, is okay. And if they're not okay, that we give them the tools or guide them to the tools or bring them to the tools that can help them be okay. And okay looks so different for everybody. Just because I'm high functioning and making a whole lot of money does not mean that I'm mentally all right. No, that doesn't mean that. And a lot of times society would think that a person who shows up and appears to have it all together is all right, and they're not okay. Because some of us have mastered lying and being queens and kings of a facade. We know how to put on a mask, right?
Yeah. So, how do we get to know that somebody is not okay? And especially a man, because a lot of us are putting on the mask. How do we unmask?
Unmask.
Yes.
I I would say there's so many layers to that. I would say start telling the truth first of all. Be mindful in what you're watching and what you're looking at, you know, and having conversations. Um, Maybe if he's not willing to have a conversation, I would say, maybe talk to someone that's close to him that he will speak to, and letting them know, listen, I'm concerned because what I would regret is us seeing something and not saying something and wish that we said something while we standing over someone's casket. It's too late then, right? And then now you walking around with shame and guilt because you should have said something. So don't be afraid to say what you're saying. People think that if they ask someone, "Are you suicidal? Are you thinking about killing yourself?" That's going to push them to kill themselves. That is not true. That is not true. You have to ask those questions, and we have to be safe enough, and we have to be educated to know how to ask questions. I think one of the things that's happening is that, and which I really love, is that the education part is coming out there because the truth is a lot of people are ignorant to mental health. Not that they're ignorant like they choose to be, they just don't know. And so there's so much stuff out there, so many conversations, so many videos, so many books, so many movies, so many things that are pulling the mask off of what we're really seeing. And so that it's no really an excuse for someone to see that somebody is not well and you just allow it to happen. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. What are the symptoms? What are the things that we should watch out for while dealing with, okay, for this sake of this conversation, a male partner? A
Okay,
male
so
partner or a son, or just to take care of the man's mental health. What are the things that we should be looking at,
I
the red flags?
but there's some subtle things and then there's some sudden things. I think some subtle things we might want to look at um is he changing his demeanor, the way he shows up? Is he extra mad? Is he extra quiet? Is he not speaking anymore? Is he laying in the bed all day long? Is he sleeping too much? Is he not sleeping? You know, are you looking at the changes that are happening amongst you? And sometimes even something like working a lot. Um, if a man is working a lot, like working all the time, could it be that he wished someone would ask him, why are you working so much? It could be he's working so much because he doesn't want to feel what he's feeling. He doesn't want to be home. He doesn't want to just deal with what's happening. So he's working, 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 and we're like, oh yeah, you're working, and you're working so hard, and we congratulate in that, not really asking why are you working. Now he might be working hard because that's what he wants to do, but he can be working hard because he's masking something. You know, also, hyposexuality. Is he all of a sudden very sexual or not being sexual at all? Those are some things we need to really look at. Alcohol and substance abuse. Is he using alcohol too much? Is he, using drugs? You know, things like that. Is he giving away things of value? That's another clue. You know, oh, you can have my vintage car. Oh, you can, have these things. Is he even talking about, death and suicide and killing himself? And is he talking about those things? There's so many things that we can be really mindful of watching for. There's a whole list of things that we can be mindful for, but I just think paying attention to the people and the men that are around us. Are you seeing some changes? Because what I noticed that in the work that we do at the J. Holman House is that people say, I don't know what happened. Even me, when my son died from suicide, I said, I don't know what happened. But when I got educated, I did see this, and I did see that, and I did see this. I just didn't have language for it.